I'm Pastor Matt, and this is the EMBER Exchange. So, whether we're talking about something from our church, something from the Bible, or interviewing a guest, we will do it unrushed, one puff at a time, the same as the best way to enjoy a cigar. Today, I want to tell you about a man. He was born, and at 13 years old, he was forced to quit school. He had to go to work to support his family. Then his mother died, and so now he's out on his own. And so he had a couple of crappy jobs, and then he went into business for himself, and his business failed. So he decided he was going to go to law school, but law school rejected him, and he couldn't get in. So he had a couple of knockaround jobs. And then he borrowed several $1,000s from a friend to start a business, and then promptly ran that business out of business again. And he had to work for 17 years to pay his buddy back who had loaned him this money. And then he decided he was going to run for the state house, and he ran for the state house and lost. And then he was going to run for, and you have to forgive me if I get one of the details wrong, but he was going to run for like dog catcher, whatever, and lost. And he ran for all these political offices and lost. And then he finally won and lost his bid for re-election. And then he kept trying, and he kept trying, and he kept trying. And then he got elected to the United States Congress and then lost his re-election bid. And then he tried to be an elector, and that didn't work out for him either. Virtually nobody voted for him. And then he finally ran for president and won. And so if you haven't figured it out already, that's the story of Abraham Lincoln. He failed, and he failed his way up all the way to the top. And most historians would say that without his leadership, the United States would not exist as it does today. And that's really an important story because he mentioned and wrote several times about how he had employed lessons he had learned in defeat in his political races and in his failures in business, and how he had learned from those and how to work with and manage people, and through the process of the war and all of the things that went on, that all of those failures led him to where he was supposed to be. And that kind of reminded me of a verse from the Old Testament that is one of my personal favorites that I wanted to share with you today. It's from Jeremiah 29. God speaking says, "I know the plans that I have for you, plans to prosper and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and to give you a future." And so with that in mind, and the story of Abraham Lincoln's upward failing all the way to the top, that kind of put me on the concept of where we are now is the product of everything that's ever happened in our lives. And where we end up at the end is the product of everything that's happened to us in the process of our life, and that is all a process. And that led me to think about David and the story of David and Goliath. So I think that's a common enough story, it doesn't need to be rehashed today. But when David shows up and Goliath is there taunting the armies of Israel, and David says, "Well, I'll go fight him." And he goes to see the king, and the king says, "Well, I don't know about all this." And David says, "When I was watching my father's flocks, a lion came, and I fought with the lion and beat the lion, and a bear came, and I fought with the bear and I beat the bear, and this Philistine will be like the lion and the bear." And I'll guarantee you that when David was squaring up with a bear, that was not a good thing. That was a hard time. That was a trial and a struggle. But when the bigger struggle came, when Goliath came into his life, he was able to look back at his previous struggles that he had overcome and say, because of what happened with the lion and because of what happened with the bear, I am able to face what I'm facing today. And I know we all have hard times, we all have difficult times, and we all have struggles. What I want to say is we have to look at those difficult times and as those struggles as part of the process to bring us to what God says He has for us, a plan for us to prosper and not to harm us, a plan to give us not only hope, but a plan to give us a future. And the lesson here is that we have to trust the process. And right now, we might be going through it. It might be a storm, it might be a valley, it might be a challenge, it might be whatever. But if we do what we should do, how we should do it, and do it the best we can, we can sit back and trust the process and know that it will lead us to the place where we're supposed to be. And so I would challenge you today to look at what's going on in your life. And if you're thriving, that's awesome. And if you're not thriving, know that this is part of the process to take you to something better. And just do what you should do, the way you should do it, the best you can, and trust the process to take you to where you're supposed to be. Until next time, keep your fire burning, keep your cigar lit, and don't forget to send us your burning questions.